Hey guys, it's Rich with your Monday Spot on the Pagan Perspective. This week's topic is on the first witch. This week's topic comes from Tyler, who writes, "Here's my question for you all. The first witch. I honestly have not thought much about it. Obviously, the practice of witchcraft has a long history that is for the most part well known and information can be easily found. But how much information is out there about the first witches or the first people to call themselves such? I stumbled upon some Lithuanian myths about Ragana, referencing her as the first witch, and I have been obsessing about it all day. How much lore slash myth slash information is there out there of where witches began, long before the names, the trials, and the resurfacing of the craft? Do you guys know of any legends or myths about early witches? I would love to hear your thoughts." I have no clue any myths or legends about the first witches. I don't really go too much in my personal practice on lore and whatnot. That's just not really much of what I focus on in my practice as much. I do like some myths, some legends, some lores, but it's not really a huge part of my practice. If it's part of a celebration or something like that, that's different. But for me, I don't really delve too much into lores and whatnot, even though I love studying it. I love hearing them. I love hearing the stories, the myths out there. I do love hearing them, but it's not something that I really know that much about whenever it comes to especially the first witches. I have to say that even before this question, I have thought about it within probably the last couple months. I get these little thoughts every once in a while, like, I wonder who the first witch was, or who was the first person to put a red candle and say, hey, I'm going to use this, and this is just what I have handy, I'm going to use this red candle for a love spell, and it worked. And how did they know that a red candle worked and a white one didn't for this specific reason? How did they know that, anointing a candle a certain way rather than going the other way, or, going from middle to top and middle to bottom? How did they know that was going to be something that they did and it worked? Obviously there had to be a lot of trial and error, but how did they finally figure out that myrrh was going to be used for a certain purpose? These are things that I have thought about myself in the last couple months especially. Like, where did this come from? Who was the first one to really discover this and really go into those details? And not only that, the medicinal properties. How many people had to, give of their own life for us to discover some of the medicinal properties? And who was the one that finally found all this out? Who was the one that recorded all of this information? Those are things inquiring minds like mine want to know. So you are not alone in these questions, Tyler. I have been pondering these at least for the last few months, on and off, and I have myself obsessed with it a little bit, but not to the point of actually going out and doing some reading on it. Just because for me, I kind of got that mindset of, well, it's probably not been recorded, because there are a lot of things that were not recorded because of secrecy and whatnot. But really, who were the first witches? Who were the first ones to take on that moniker of being a witch? Who was the first person to say, these faces on these decks of cards, all these pictures on these decks of cards, even before Pamela Coleman Smith and A.E. Waite put their revolutionary deck out of the Waite Smith Tarot. Even before that, whenever you had the Marseille style decks, who were the ones that actually finally sat down and said, I can see divination in this, and I can use this as a form of divination? Who was that person? And why did they say that this card means this to them? And, how did they finally come up with that? this is something that I in and of myself, as I stutter through this, in and of myself, I want to know these answers. And I understand that these are answers that I may never get. Doesn't mean I'm not going to ask them. It means that I'm going to put them on my list of questions to ask whoever I can, whenever I get to wherever it is that we go when we die. And, of course, everything gets answered, at least in my hopeful feelings of it, is that everything gets answered in that time and in that place of, hey, here's all my questions, answer them. Because inquiring minds want to know the answers to these questions. So, yeah, I honestly don't know. And I'm okay saying that because I don't know if there's really an answer to this question as far as who this person was or who these people were that first came up with this. So, I'm sorry, but I don't have an answer to your question. And I think that's okay. As far as lores and everything, like I said, not really something with my practice that I go too much into. Whenever I have spare moments, I go into a little bit of lore and whatnot, but it's not a huge, pivotal part of my practice in and of itself whenever it comes to just lore and wondering about things. Of course, I will go and look for the answers, if time allots. But unless it has to do with celebration, I'm sorry, I don't really have that much information on it. So, unfortunately, I don't have any solid answers for you. So, I'm sorry that I can't answer this question this week. But in a way, it's also okay that I can't answer some of these questions this week. So, sorry, but hopefully one of the other hosts out there do have answers to your questions, because I am intrigued and I really want to know what the other hosts have to say about this. So, excuse me. Yeah, that's all that I have for this week. I think we're on again next week, pretty sure. If not, I will see you on the flip side. So, until then, may you have love, hugs, and ladybugs. Bye-bye.